A lot of marketing leaders confused by saying, I'm doing brand awareness separately, I'm doing this separately, I'm doing this separately, I'm doing this separately. But if you simplify it for your management and say, here are the three problems I'm solving, and for these, here are the three things I'm doing, they'll just be able to relate a lot more to why are you doing ABC and what outcome will it drive.
Welcome again. My name is Ankur Sehgal. I'm the CEO and co-founder of BambooBox. You are listening to Unboxing ABM, where we speak to experts to understand their experiments and their journeys with ABM. Good evening. I have got Ankit Chaturvedi with me. Ankit is VP and Global Head of Marketing at RateGain. I think Ankit is a extremely hands-on leader. Ankit has been able to put marketing right in center of the growth agenda at RateGain. So welcome, Ankit. A very good evening to you after a long day. How have you been?
Thank you, Ankur, for having me. I know you and I have been trying to get this going for some time now, and finally, it's good to finally be on this call and discuss. I don't think there is a better time for marketers to exist, as so many playbooks go out of the window and so many new things come in. I haven't seen in the limited time that I've worked in under marketing so much focus on what marketing can do, how is it changing in the boardroom as I've seen now. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad, but at least we have everyone's attention that here's a function that's getting disrupted, and all of us have an equal opportunity to take a lead ahead. Getting to learn something new every day at the workplace, in AI, on LinkedIn, on Substack, through Mavens. It's just so much information consumption that sometimes you have to take a short break and say, can I breathe before there's something new that comes along? So yeah, it's a great time to be alive.
Help my audience by taking them through your journey as a marketer. And also, if you could highlight how you have evolved as a marketer. I'm sure when you started marketing at HCL and possibly last 7 years at RateGain, how has it evolved you as a marketer? How has your approach evolved as a marketer? Take us through that.
I always say this, Ankur, that I was very lucky to be at the right place at the right time. And in HCL, I was part of consulting, but what I was doing wasn't really giving me the satisfaction of creating something that I could be really proud of. And this was at the same time when digital and content marketing was just taking off in India. It had just started growing in the B2B space. There was an opening in content marketing and the digital marketing group at HCL, and had a great manager at that time in consulting who was kind enough to let me go. We were given a free hand in an enterprise as big as HCL Technologies to come up with our own projects because there wasn't really a standard of what content marketing really looks like. Our leader at that time, Apur Chamaria, he almost made it like a Shark Tank within our own team that everyone has to pitch me projects, and whatever makes the most sense to me, I will green flag it, and then I'll align the team around it to deliver it, right? We were allowed to get access to the CEO's office, sales guys, and that was the culture at HCL, right? And it operated like a startup within a large enterprise. And you will not believe this. It took us almost 30 days to get a blog live. And even though it was not my job, I actually conceptualized a platform that we implemented within HCL and which was being used, I think, till last year. Post that, I got an opportunity to go to RateGain because Apurva had worked very closely with me on some of these projects. And I landed at RateGain, and RateGain was a phenomenal journey. It's been a phenomenal journey till now. What was critical for our success was our founder, Bhanu Chopra, realizing that what can marketing really bring? But at least in the last 2 to 3 years, we've built a fairly good product marketing function, a decent performance engine. Every year has been different from the past one, even in those 7 years at RateGain. And right from being listed to managing investor relations to building new functions, uh, I've learned a lot in those 7 years. So yeah, that's my journey.
You have worked on one side with a very large IT services company. But then coming to RateGain, which is a pure play SaaS product company, uh, did anything change the expectation of, say, your management team from you at RateGain versus what the expectation at HCL was, or the way they wanted marketing to be leveraged or used in growing the business? Did anything change between these two very, very different setups?
In HCL, we would plan really, really elaborate campaigns, right? And we could take our time. And no sales were impacted because of that. But that had to instantly change when you come to a company like RateGain. And then the DNA of RateGain was that every person in the room is trying to drive more revenue. Be it implementation, be it engineering, be it product, be it marketing, be it sales. Everyone is trying to drive up revenue, right? So the ownership within the company was a lot more. Your accountability was a lot more. You had to think of what are we planning to do this month, next month. It kind of needed that urgency to act upon that we need to bring in revenue and we need marketing's active support to do that. But yeah, I think the urgency of getting results and scaling things was a lot more in Radian and continues to be there versus an HCL where the focus was to do high quality work, high impact work, things that really shine. And we operated with that mindset in HCL that whatever you're putting out has to be world class, has to trump what the other IT services providers are doing. We are now trying to do that trade again after 7 years, after getting to a certain scale. But initially, it was a lot more nimble.
Would it be fair to say that in a very large ID services setup, the pressure of your initiative immediately getting converted into revenue is slightly lower as compared to what it would be in a product-led SaaS setup, growth stage company?
Yeah, it would be a lot lower because there's only that much you can do to impact the deal cycle. The kind of power that you get in SaaS to kind of being able to demonstrate it in marketing is very unique. Being able to look at this is where the prospect came in, this is what they were doing. And we could personalize pages basis, repeat visits basis, what service line were you coming to and what industry were you visiting? Because we had 31 service lines and then we had industries and then we had returning customer versus new customer. So we actually built out an entire workflow there that if you were coming on this page, if you were starting from that page, if you were downloading this asset and then coming again, how would the journey really look? But were we able to go and claim a lot of credit for that with sales? Maybe the answer is no. But if you were to do that motion in a SaaS setup, 100 million, 50 million, and if you had the capability of doing that, the amount of credit marketing would get to kind of bring that in will be quite visible. You can track that through so many tools now. So a lot more different in SaaS versus IT services.
So what does ABM mean for you?
At the end of the day, ABM, if you break it down to its fundamental level, is person to person marketing. The way you have to think of any ABM program is who am I going to talk to and how will I convince them and what will it take to bring them towards us. And in certain sense, I've thought at some time that it's a change management program. Very early on in my consulting career, I did change management. And when I executed an ABM program, I actually did not find this in any of the playbooks. And I said, yeah, maybe there is no playbook, but this is what I've learned. You need to know who's your advocate and who doesn't like you. And then start working on what this person likes about you, communicate it to the person who doesn't like that about you. And that should solve some of the issues, right? So that's how I'm thinking about ABM. That are you clearly mapping who do you have to convince to get the deal in?
On LinkedIn or various other medium where people come and comment that I do two things as a marketing leader. I do demand generation and then I also do ABM. What is your take on that? I have a very firm personal opinion on it, which no one is interested, at least on this conversation, to listen in. But what is your opinion on it? In your mind, is it two things, or ABM is so fundamental that the question just doesn't arise?
I'll do brand awareness, I will do demand generation, and I'll do ABM.
Okay.
And I've heard that. Okay, I've heard that. I've tried to explain to people that Demand will only get generated when there is awareness, and awareness will only be made to people who don't know you. And for knowing that who doesn't know you need to know which accounts to go to. The three things are actually interconnected into one outcome. And a lot of people confuse demand generation with paid advertising, and then they use ABM as a different team structure, right? So the way people think and the way people have been made to think, at least maybe in this side of the world, is there are team structures. So I will leverage this team, I will leverage this team, and I will leverage this team. I will do ABM, I will do events, I will do brand awareness, and I will do demand generation. And these are channels, but ABM kind of owns all of them, right? So if an account doesn't know me, it means it doesn't know my brand. What is the channel? Okay, I can do events or I can do paid advertising. And then once they know me, that's the tofu part of it. When they start coming to my website, start engaging in my content, looking at my SDR emails, and they come through the funnel, that's when I've generated demand. Generating demand is in the B2C context, that's like selling ice cream. You have quality walls and you have some other brand, which I don't know. Let's say
Nandini, Bangalore South,
okay,
Nandini.
Nandini. Okay, so it's a regional brand, and I'm a North Indian. I'm in Bangalore. What cart am I walking to? I'm walking to walls because I know their brand. I don't know Nandini. Maybe Nandini has a better product, but I don't know them. They have the same product, but because I trust, or I maybe I don't even trust walls, but I just know walls. So their brand awareness played in generating demand. Now, this can also go back to how easily it is to get the product to you, which is more of a PLG motion that a lot of SaaS companies do. How easily can I get a product? And that could then also triangulate to where should my product be available? And these are B2C concepts which you can apply to B2B and still say that that's ABM. So if it's hot in Delhi and I am a D2C brand and I want to make sure that my brands are available in Delhi only because everywhere else it's raining, let's assume that. I'll make sure that my distribution is working to make sure that I'm listed on Blinkit, Swiggy, and that my stock isn't going down, right? Now, you could call this a distribution strategy, but again, it's a region-based, it's a localized strategy, which again, you could take to B2B marketing and say, wherever my product gets sold faster or there's a higher need, my marketing effort should be higher there. That's also ABM. And a lot of marketing leaders confused by saying, I'm doing brand awareness separately, I'm doing this separately, I'm doing this separately, I'm doing this separately. But if you simplify it for your management and say, here are the three problems I'm solving, and for these, here are the three things I'm doing, they'll just be able to relate a lot more to why are you doing ABC and what outcome will it drive.
ABM is more like a mindset. Performance is a subset of is a tactic to deliver ABM if you call it.
Yeah.
In our last 4.5 years of journey, we have seen if not hundreds, at least scores of customers taking an ABM journey. There are folks which we have seen adopt ABM as a tool. We have seen people adopting ABM as a marketing initiative. And we have seen RateGain and we have seen Ankit Chaturvedi adopting ABM as a change management initiative. What led you to do that, and what are some of the challenges which you have faced while you have been on your journey over the last few years now?
It's a very interesting challenge to solve, and I'm being supported by Ayush. Shout out to Ayush from our RevOps organization. The change that we're trying to drive is we're trying to educate our internal stakeholders that if you were to take an approach where you were to put a lead target on marketing or on your SDRs or on your sales guys, that math actually doesn't add up. Statistics say, and I don't know how much of it is true, that at any given point of time in a year, 10 to, and I'm obviously quoting a higher number, let's say 20% of your market is active. Now, if all of the competition is going after that 20%, then there are four competitors. You will be able to get 5% of the market into your kitty for that year. You can't keep increasing the number of leads that you're getting, or you can't have an arbit target of leads which doesn't add up to how much of your time is buying. So if I have 100,000 hotels that I can sell to, we say that, okay, out of 100,000 hotels, 20,000 hotels this year will change their product, whatever product we're selling. And there are four competitors in the market, right? All of them will go after that, and maybe everyone will get 20% of the market. So we should end up getting 4,000 hotels out of that. How many leads will I be able to generate? At max, I'll be able to generate 20,000 leads. And then the next year, I might get 20 more thousand leads, but I can't double that number if I spend more, because the number of people buying in the market will not drastically change unless there is a massive disruption, which is either economic in nature, political in nature, or has an impact on the existing technology. Till the time that doesn't happen, the number of buyers in the market should not increase. And therefore, we go in this spiral of getting more leads by pumping more money. And that's what everyone does. And the problem that we land up in is everyone's pumping more money. Your CPL costs are going up, your impression costs are going up. And you're coming back to the board to say, my leads aren't going up. Instead, if you were to reverse this and say, between sales, marketing, and product, product being a critical component here. Do we agree what markets should we focus on and what accounts should I focus on? And then start drilling down on those accounts basis whatever factors you want to identify. Where do I have integrations? Where do I have this and that? And then focus all of your energy on those accounts through digital, through events, through SDR, so that those accounts that are in market feel that we are getting a lot of attention from RateGain. And therefore, it's important to consider them if we are looking for a product. So that's the change management we're trying to do. But that change management doesn't end with saying focus on accounts. It also changes the way you're doing reporting within the company. It also changes the conversations you're having in your reviews. It also changes the way you're planning your events. It also changes the way you plan your digital spends. We have been partially successful in at least aligning some of our leaders who are a lot more forward thinking. We've actually seen some initial success from them on adopting this approach, very early signs, but that has started working. Instead of just mindlessly generating leads, I think our leadership also now says that, okay, we need to bring in something which is more inbound led outbound, where we see interest and how can we automate that and how can we bring that. But we're trying to obviously educate them that let's focus on a fewer accounts, let's go deeper. And it's a long change. It won't happen in 6 months, maybe in 1 year. So it's very, very fascinating.
I think this is the toughest problem for any marketing leader, and not only in this part of the world. I can assure you this is a global problem. How do you get a consensus across the management team that this takes time?
So one way is that you keep showing value in bits and pieces, and you keep showing them that, hey, now this is working, now this is working. I know that I'm struggling to show value. I know that my finance team is asking me questions on a few platforms, and I can't avoid that. So I will learn in the process. But one way I've at least done it with the people who are the primary users and benefactors of what we are trying to do is to show them value as and when things get made. If I have a digital sales room that I can leverage and showcase to a large account, I start sharing that. And that's another thing that, as part of this change management initiative that our founder also asked me to do, is to share with business leaders whatever I'm observing in different business units. We run a matrix organization,
Mm.
and I have been lucky enough to get a view of what all of these organizations are doing, and what we have tried in these organizations. So his point to me is that, hey, why don't, if something's working here, why don't you share that with another business unit and let them try it? And so we're taking very small pieces. We're not making comprehensive pitches. We obviously do presentations and training, but we're taking like these working use cases and saying, hey, this is what this result is driving. Share it on WhatsApp, share it in Teams, share it when you meet them, and
Mm.
keep repeating that message till the time it doesn't get drilled down into people's head that this is how it will help. one lesson that I would tell every marketer is apply the basics of marketing. That for you to be able to plant an idea in someone's head, you'll have to be everywhere. You have to be visible in your organization. So internal communications also is a very critical thing, which I haven't aced, but I have learned that I need to ace it for people to be able to take it up much more quickly and realize value. Again, fundamentals of B2B marketing, but you're only changing the lens to market to your own internal stakeholders. It will take effort, it will consume time. When they see what is in it for them very clearly, they will become advocates by themselves. And your job will then will get done.
What is your advice to some of the folks who are on the verge of adopting ABM? What are your two or three pieces of advice to them? How should they look at that? Talk us through that.
Make sure your CRM is extremely well organized. If you don't know what your data has, and if you don't know what values you should have in your CRM against each prospect, the outcome of your ABM gets impacted significantly. If you have the right data, it can scale it significantly. If you don't have the right data, and I'm saying right data in terms of it's not mapped properly, but you also don't have the right content within your CRM, then it can also impact it negatively. So that's number one. Number two is have a very good understanding of how buyers buy from you. Where do they search? Why are they searching for a solution? What are their motivations? Go back to the basics of product marketing. Have a very deep understanding of how the buying journey looks like. And I'm not saying how it looks on your website. How does your buyer really react to an outreach? What channels will they be more willing to go to? Are they more event friendly or are they more digital first? Now, this could change from a region to a market to a persona. So, for a certain product group, the person buying the product might be more digitally friendly, whereas a certain market for the same product group, the person buying it might be more events friendly, right? You will need to have that mapped out very clearly for you to be able to run the ABM motion or any such motion with accuracy of results. Otherwise, you will run it and you will not see results. And the third is think downstream. Think that, okay, once I have an intel on someone, once I know that this is what I have to show to them, and if they do engage with it, what are the next steps that you're taking? Again, goes back to the same point of how do they buy from you, but have a very clear understanding of who does what, right? What does marketing do? What does sales do? What is the role of RevOps? Start defining that. We actually had to do that in the middle, and but we have a fairly cohesive relationship with sales and RevOps, so it wasn't as tough. But if you don't define that at the beginning of the initiative, uh, getting consensus and changing their priorities can get very hard. And last but not the least, have a very clear outcome map to your ABM program. Do not say I'll be able to penetrate into 50 accounts. That you can do through digital also, that you can do through an event also. But why would you run an ABM program? And how will it impact and help your CFO? Start thinking with that lens because there will be investments you'll have to do in terms of people, in terms of maybe marketing services, maybe events, maybe digital, and that might be additional budget that you're trying. So have a very clear goal so that once you're presenting this to your leadership, you can say that this is the metric that I have moved by this initiative. And this couldn't have moved if I was doing it in any other isolated manner, right? If I was running an event separately, if I was running digital separately. Because that's the question that every ABM program will bring to you. That why are you calling it ABM? This could have just been a normal marketing campaign. And a lot of business leaders will not understand it. So understand what helps them get convinced on why is this initiative helpful for their P&L, and define that and then track that and help them understand that, and that should help you make it bigger within the organization.
On that note, Ankit, two very strong takeaways for me. If you are doing an ABM, if you want to adopt ABM, it is not just assuming that suddenly overnight you will move to an account-based marketing system across the company. You have
Yeah.
to change the way you do reporting, relook at how you are doing events, what events you are doing, what narrative you are taking to the events.
Yeah. Oh my God, yes.
You have to relook at where you are focusing your spend machinery on. You have to double down on communication with all the stakeholders. So it's not just about adopting a platform or buying a platform and thinking that you will switch it on and next day onwards you would be ABM ready. So that was my first takeaway. Second, ABM readiness. One is that your CRM has to be in place. Second, you need to have a very deep understanding on what your buyer journey, or I call it buying triggers. You have
Yeah.
understanding. You develop that understanding by looking at whatever historical data you have. If need be, go speak to your customers, go speak to your sales teams, get deeper what happens behind the scene. Not every sales cycle is completely digital. There are a lot of people who don't even come in the front when a sales is happening, but there's a lot which happens behind the door. So you need to understand that before you even think about adopting ABM. Third, and a very, very important point which you mentioned, is internal and external orchestration, which is what you said, think downstream. So it is about how you will, any signal or any piece which you are seeing as part of your funnel movement, what is that you want to do with that internally? How does it pass on? And also, what communication do you want to do with the customer at every step? So I call it both internal and external orchestration. And fourth, which is a no-brainer. I think you have to know your outcomes. So thank you on that note for highlighting this and giving some very, very interesting bites to my viewers. Thank you again, Ankit.
Thank you for having me, Ankur.
For those of you who are listening in, this was Ankit Chaturvedi. Thank you, Ankit, once again.